Hi guys, don't know where to start really. I've been thinking about putting a channel together for some time and I find this difficult, recording myself. I think a lot of people do that, but we'll give it a go anyway. So it's just a quick introduction on basically where I live and what happens around. Look at wildlife, gardening, little bit of pest control where needed, but don't slate me before we start. First off, I'm going to do a quick video on NoMowMay. So obviously NoMowMay. Some people started to follow this quite a lot. I've been doing for the last few years something very similar, trying to introduce some wildlife into my garden. The property I live in at the moment, when I first moved in, was very scarce. Although I'm in the middle of the countryside, I had very little visit my garden. Very few birds, very few mammals, very few reptiles, insects, bees. You get the gist. Over the course of the last 3 years, the property I live in at the moment has come leaps and bounds as far as wildlife is concerned. I partly put that down to the fact that I do cut lawns and garden with the intent of trying to encourage wildlife in. So anyway, that's a quick intro, and we'll just have a little walk around the garden. I'll show you how I cut my lawns and why I do what I do. So this is my back garden. As you can see, I have a hound. And on that basis, this lawn I have to keep relatively short. The whole space was originally lawn when I moved in, so the very little lawn I've got left now is purely so we've got somewhere for the dog to be. Unfortunately, the fences around the property are not the most secure for a big dog, which can leap quite easily over a 6-foot fence. It has happened before. On that basis, she has to be kept on a bit of a running lead. But as you can see, she's quite happy. She's laying in a bed in the sun. So this lawn here, excuse me, this lawn here I keep relatively short because obviously the dog has to use it as a toilet, so it just makes the job of cleaning up after the dog a lot easier. What was lawn originally is now all flower beds. This large cherry tree was only put in about 4 years ago. It's about 3.5 foot high at most, so it's obviously quite happy there. Just come round, and last year my wife and myself decided to put a pond in, and it's true what they say, if you build it they will come. As you can see, there's a shallow area, so anything that wants to come and get water for a drink, particularly hedgehogs, can get in and out, no problems whatsoever. And there's a slightly deeper part here which is frequented by newts, frogs, toads. There's various different insects in there of different varieties, dragonfly larvae, etc. I'll just take you a bit further around. Excuse the washing on the line. This area when I first moved in was waist high in grass. As you can see, we've put raised beds in. I enjoy my gardening, but my back is not the best, so I found by elevating beds it's made life a lot easier. Incidentally, this that looks like quite a mess was off the roof a couple of years ago. The roof was changed, and rather than have all the tiles go to a waste site, I asked the roofers to leave them. We smashed them up and used them, so during winter we can still access the area without it being muddy. Just go into my driveway and through onto the road. When I first moved into this property, this footpath was actually covered in lawn and weeds. It had grown so far, and you had to walk literally on the curb or in the road to make any access. So all this is uncovered. You can see at the moment I've uncovered it, and all the damage can be seen now. So South Cambs District Council have come along and they've started highlighting areas in the footpath to be replaced and made safe. Now, NoMowMay. A lot of people talk about verges being mown. I actually cut mine at the highest possible cutting height my lawnmower will do. I found this keeps it looking neat and tidy, and because I mow a little higher, we do actually get other plants at a lower height. Very rare the flower. I prefer to keep this uncut, but it can look a little bit messy. But the worst issue here is because I live in a small village with a very small road which is used as a rat run, any length of grass here encourages people to throw the litter out, and quite frequently I was picking up things like bottles of wine, bottles of, well, any spirits, vodka, brandy. It's just ridiculous. So keeping this a little bit shorter does put people off from dropping their litter from the cars that pass. So I've kept a shortish length. Unfortunately, it's not a NoMowMay, and I would prefer to have wildflowers sitting here, but it's a case of trying to keep as much of the litter thrown onto our streets away as possible. I do pick up quite frequently. I have to quite frequently pick up the verge on the opposite side of the road. Again, mainly bottles and cans from people drinking, McDonald's, KFC, you know, the sort of thing that people are throwing out the cars. Round to the front lawn, and situation changes. So I try to keep a passable space with footpaths, and this is not a NoMowMay. I leave this all year, so this gets to full height. I have flowers not just of spring but all the way through the summer. So at the moment I've currently got some more wildflowers coming out. So over by my apple tree you can see we have some oxeye daisies getting ready to flower. There's I think it's wild carrot. So by letting it grow all year, I encourage a lot more of the wildflowers that also flower during the summertime. It also means any insects that decide to make this their home have actually got somewhere for their eggs to be laid, for their grubs to hatch, and then to mature back into adults. NoMowMay is fantastic for feeding early pollinators, but as soon as all that's cut back, any eggs that have been laid, any caterpillars, grubs, basically they're done for. So this is not a NoMowMay, this is a don't mow at all. I do in September, when everything is died back and all the flowers have gone to seed, I will cut this with a strimmer and I will let it sit for a couple of days just for any last seed to fall to the ground. I'll then rake up by hand all the long grass and remove it. This reduces the nutrients of the soil, which encourages more wildflowers. So that's a little of what I do for my lawns, and in particular the NoMowMay. She's come to work out where I am now. Hello, sweetie. Good girl. And hope to do more content soon. Thank you.